Man, we're live. Episode 102, This Life in Tech. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan.
We got the double green screen going.
That's right. Now I've got to figure out how to get the better chroma key software we were talking about off air.
Yeah.
Got the green screen up. In this case, it's a physical green screen to try to help the camera adjust. Doesn't do too well just yet. Maybe, I'll figure it out.
It takes a little
copious amounts of free time.
Yeah, right. It takes a little bit of tweaking, man. I got to say, I've been running this experiment, and I didn't announce it because I decided just to sit down and do it. And I've been running Manjaro Linux for 3 weeks now, going on 4 weeks, I think.
I'm sorry. What distro is that from? I just can't remember.
Oh, it's Arch based, except it's like Arch done right, and the community is not a bag of dicks. Listen. So I sat down, and of course I go to DistroWatch, the website, and I look at the rankings to see, it's a measure, I guess, of what you could say is the usability and the popularity of individual distros. And I look at their rankings, and more of what I look at, because it kind of gives you like a stock metric of how much it's gone up or down. And the reason I look at that is to get a sense of who's being updated, which distributions are broken by, let's say, the last kernel update, what the fuck ever, right? And I see Manjaro's at the top, and Arch is like 16 or 17. And of course, Ubuntu's like 2 or 3, whatever, right? And the last time, bless you, the last time I did this experiment, I was running Ubuntu, which I've always really liked because I like the app package management system. I've always liked Debian, and I just think Ubuntu does a little better job of having a Debian-based system than even Debian does, right? And so I'm looking at it, and the last time I had those problems with the bug in the camera that would freeze my computer up when we were broadcasting. So I thought, well, I want to do something. I like being able to get deep and do stuff, but Arch, man, every time I go look for like a solution to a problem, everybody's being a jerk to whoever asked the question. It doesn't matter what it is. It can have nothing to do with Linux. And people are just jerks, in my opinion. And so I go look at Manjaro's community forums, and everybody's like the nicest people in the world. People are asking legitimately dumb questions, in my opinion. And everybody's like, hey, man, don't worry about it. We're here to help. Check this out. Did you try this? I'm like, you know what, man? That's the kind of community that I want to be a part of. And guess what? It didn't take like 2 days to install because the directions, well, you don't even need them because it's so easy to install. And it just works, man. It just works. There's not a lot of extra bloat and bullshit. Couple little tweaks, and I'm completely stable. I've only had 2 issues so far. One, and this is weird. Every so often, man, let me give you a technical overview of my setup here. I have a Netgear Nighthawk wireless access point in the main house, and that thing's beefy. And the reason I got it is not only because of its buffer size, so it can handle throughput, but because it has triple radios in it, right? So it can do all the letters of 802. And I have 2.4 and 5 gigahertz radios, right? And what it does, which is nice, is it bonds them into a single channel, right? So then in my office, which is physically outside the house, I have a Nighthawk extender, which can take the bonded Wi-Fi channel, receive it, and then in here I'm wired to it, okay? So I have this weird issue now with Manjaro, and I know it's Manjaro because it doesn't happen to my Xbox. It doesn't happen to my Dell laptop, which is Windows. It doesn't happen. Every so often, man, I get this issue where I have to reset my local extender. It's the only way to fix it. It's a networking issue. And I think there's a problem in my chipset driver for the network card. But dude, if that's the biggest problem I got, because it doesn't happen all the time, I can deal with that long term, right?
Yeah.
The other issue I have is I think the plugin, which is why I have my green screen being green rather than image, is the plugin for OBS, as far as I can tell, is Windows only because it's a Windows assembly. So I can't create a virtual camera to chroma key this. So I have to find a different solution for that, which I'm sure there is. That's it. That's the only issues I've had, man. Other than that, I run it all day long, all night long. Everything I need to do on it, I can do. And it's quick as shit. It's stable. I couldn't be happier.
Nice. Well, first part we'll go back as to why, at least my opinion as to why when you go to different Linux forums, they're all a bunch of jerks, is because they all think they're elitist because they're running Linux. And if you're not on their level, then they don't care. They forget they didn't get there on their own.
Yeah.
no one got to where they needed to go on their own. You had to ask a question of some type, how to get started, doesn't matter. And they forget about that. And, I've run Manjaro. I really like it. It's pretty much the reason why I like Linux, or rather Arch in this case, because they have their own package system, but you could still use Pacman if you still wanted to, either one. But it makes it easy. They've got a pretty good community, and I agree with you. When you ask a question, people are pretty super cool over there at that community. It's, and a lot of, and with Arch, I have found that regardless of which distro, the community seemed to be a little bit different, which is cool. You mentioned stuff about Wi-Fi, so check this out, and this just saved me a bunch of time. I went and got the Google Wi-Fi.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because and you can turn off all the little features sending it back to Google, which I do, because I don't really care. I mean, I care, but I don't care. But in this case, I'm not going to send stuff if I have the option not to. But what I love about it is it automatically synchronizes, because I have 3 access points. There's no me trying to figure it all out. It's just easily set up. Add a new access point, scan it, and so it adds it back to your system. Automatically tells you how it's performing based on the we'll say the hub access point, the one that's connected to the router. And the best part is, and for any of those people that are looking for something, hey, you just say that you've got kids, you add the device to it, that one automatically gets added into the Google family, so it does not let them see inappropriate content. You don't have to worry about it. What applications? They can't even download it because you're controlling it at the internet. And
right.
Of course, nothing is 100%, but Google knows quite a bit about what's kid friendly and what's not. And for those that are looking for it, you can automatically, even with those devices, set a schedule. You don't want them being on the internet. There's not, and it's simple. It is so easy to do. It took me to do everything from start to finish, maybe 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It was so beautifully simple. It's really powerful. I bought the mount kits. The mount kit is slick because it uses the power adapter going through it. The Google Wi-Fi unit connects right into it. The power adapter going into the plug is what holds everything in place. No nice. Drilling, no nothing. So everywhere you're going around trying to put these things, trying to figure out, nope, find a plug it in, done. I've got clean. 3, 1 on each floor. It was amazing to do.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
You bring something up, man, and I thought about this a while ago, and it just left out of my mind until you just mentioned it. Isn't it amazing how far the parental controls have come? To the point where I actually, and Marcia and I have talked about this because she uses them on her Apple devices for herself. They're really productivity controls in terms of how you can set schedules for access to different contents, to the device itself. Dude, it's come so far, man, from just simple like URL filtering.
Yeah, it's much better. And this is the thing that, because I know that a lot of parents are not really monitoring what their kids are doing on the internet. You know what? There's no reason why a 10-year-old stumbles across pornographic material on the internet. There's just simply no reason for it. They should not. Neither should a 12-year-old. A 14-year-old's going to figure it out. They're getting curious around that age. Still, the longer you can keep their innocence, the better. But I hear all these stories from parents, like especially in a divorced family. 10-year-old wind up seeing a bunch of adult material because either they've got a friend that has an older sibling, and they figured out how to do it at home, and there's no one paying attention. I'm like, there's just no excuse. Zero.
No, because pardon me. There's no need to have to pay attention with how far the technology's come if you just leverage the power of the technology itself. it can watch for you, which is a great use of it, in my opinion.
It's perfect. I mean, this took zero effort for me setting this up in the Google Wi-Fi. And I had to bet, because there's other competing products out there that are like Google's at this point, where they come in a package of 3 access points. They've already got software. You know, I'm sure there's ones that they're similar. But all other ones that I saw that you had to add parental controls around, they want you to pay for it.
Yes, right.
Google does not make you pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about the same price.
Yeah. So let me ask you, because you have Google Home also, right?
Yeah.
Your access points you can control through the Google Home app?
It's not the Google Home app. They have a different one. It's just in case the Wi-Fi. They have the one thing right now that Google hasn't done yet, at least that I've been able. They don't have like one app that controls everything yet. You still have a couple different kinds.
Yeah, it's interesting the way the reason I asked is because I've run into the same issue even with between my Google Homes and my Nest controllers and my Nest cameras and stuff like that, and some other devices. Like there's certain things that fully integrate, like Google and its own stuff obviously fully integrates with itself. And that's a nice ecosystem. And then there's things that integrate, but only like certain data streams. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just curious what their long-term strategy is. I wonder if they intentionally keep it separate. I mean, for, you know, obvious reasons with anti-competitiveness and antitrust and so forth and so on. Which, okay, I mean, if it's only certain data feeds, but you know, it does make you wonder, like, if we got a room full of parents around a table and we all ask them, hey, do you think it's a good idea to control access to technology for your children? Let's say under the age of, let's just say 16 for the sake of argument. I don't think anybody in that room reasonably would say, I think that's a horrible idea. Everybody would agree it's a good idea, right? So why isn't there just like this universal protocol for, let's just call it productivity control, because that's really what it is.
Yeah, sure.
Where, I mean, because clearly it's the same thing. Can you access certain sites? Can you access this device during certain times, so forth and so on? The principles are all the same. It doesn't make sense to me that there's not like a productivity technological protocol.
True. Now, this is what's interesting. So with my Google Wi-Fi, they do have a thing to where I can control Nest through it if it's a connected device, right? I can control the connected devices to that case. So that just tells me that at a certain point, they'll have one, but they will keep separate apps out there. So this way, if you have multi vendor solution, but I believe they're going to wind up having a single pane of glass. Hey, I'm a Google shop. Bam, here it is. Go, done. It won't surprise me in the least, and I think they should. I mean, all of my stuff is Android anyway, so you know, I am not worried about any way, shape, or form at this point in time as to what of my privacy-based data might be being shared with Google. They've got everything anyway. In terms of myself, my data has been compromised so many times by doing the right thing. I just limit the amount of exposure.
Right.
And my Google setup is not tied to an email address or anything like that I use. So it's not the same thing. I have a Gmail account, but it's not the Gmail account that I use for all of my Google products in terms of that, other than my Android phone, but not with the things that I set up to control my Google devices.
Right.
Completely separate.
Oh man, I think there's a what I might call a fair trade-off in the amount of control and power you have when you have these devices interconnected and how efficient you can do things. Like I got Marcia for Christmas a TV for her sewing room, right? So when she's in there quilting and stuff, she has a smart TV that she can watch. And to really fully integrate with it, she interfaces verbally through a Google, the small home. I don't remember what they're called. The small one's not the big one. In there.
Google Home Mini.
The Mini. Thank you. And man, it's the most beautiful thing because it's tied into home. I can see it and control the stream from out here through my Android phone. And so that's become like, hey, I'm coming in to talk to you. I just pause our TV.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
And she knows, but because it's so simple. It's so simple. And then what it does, because it takes me 30 seconds to walk inside or whatever. It's nice, even though at first it was a joke. But now it's nice because now she knows I'm coming in and she can disengage from what she's doing or communicate with me, don't come in or wait because I'm in the middle of something, and vice versa. Because she does the same thing to me.
Right.
She'll pause my music.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of benefits and trade-offs with everything. But this is what I know overall. Google used to be nothing but an ad company. And they evolved to much more. So they don't really make their money just on ads. They saw a while ago that this has got to go away. Facebook hadn't caught on. Google certainly has, and now they took their data to be able to figure out what do people want, and I'm going to build products around that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
listen, man, the Google, the little suggestions, I don't know if you allow yours to pop up based on your location, like, hey, this thing is near you, go check it out, that kind of stuff. In my experience, because I've played with it, Google's ability to recommend things in real time that are pertinent to what you're actually doing is far superior to Apple's. Far superior.
Yeah, I don't turn those on for me. I mean, because that just, to me, that's where one of the lines are. Doesn't bother me that other people do. Because what I could do, and the difference is when I want to go search for something, then I'm actively doing it, and I use it on the account that I don't necessarily care as much about.
Right.
To say, hey, what's interesting around here? But I do know that their algorithms do appear to be that way. And so when I start hearing people about privacy, well, Google knows too much. I go, well, we're not hearing about them being breached. We're not hearing about like Facebook, and Google has much more data. So why aren't they getting breached? Well, part of it is because every single employee has to use multi-factor authentication. You have to. They've only recently put out their multi-factor authentication device, but I've got some friends that are directors of product over there, and they're like, every one of us has to use multi-factor, 100%. I'm like, well, there you go.
And I think it's exactly what you pointed out. My view on the outside is that Google started as, like you said, an ad company that became a data company. But as they were in that transition and figuring out how to build products around the data they were getting or had views into, let's say, they seem to have done a fair job at having robust and reliable controls.
Yeah.
That's how it seems to me. And I think that actually speaks to the quality of the services they provide. Now, to be fair, I'm still a little bent that they canceled Glass because I thought it was a really nice product and I was pissed off. I wrote that goddamn essay, got into it, had to pay $1,500, even though I was selected as an explorer. And then like a year and a half, 2 years later, they canceled it. I'm still a little salty. But you know what? Screw it, man. Sometimes when you're a pioneer, you find dead ends.
Well, I think they're going to come up with something else that's going to be similar.
Yeah. Well, it was an evolution. And okay, fair enough, man. And I'm not really salty. It's just funny. I still have it. I've thought about selling it because you can still get almost full price for it. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. There's still a lot. There's a community around it.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you don't have an actual hardware issue.
Mm-mm. No. And I think they realized at some point, not to go off on a Glass tangent, but the problem it really had was battery. If you used it for a really long time, the more that battery was drawing, not only did it get hot and it got a little uncomfortable to wear, but it just didn't last long enough, man.
So speaking of that, and I don't know if I haven't done a whole lot of research into it yet. Maybe you have. But now that 5G is becoming more available, what do you think about that? Have you done much research on it yet? Because it's at some of the scary stuff is in terms of, at least, and again, this could be completely scare tactics type thing out there and conspiracy theory. But some of them are saying it's at the same frequency that microwave is at.
I don't know.
And there's some health concerns that people have. But I'm just wondering if it's, same health concerns that everyone has with everything that's wireless, that we're just being baked or bathed in.
Yeah. Well, there's been things in the past too where if you use your cell phone at a gas station when you're pumping, it could ignite. If you keep your cell phone in your pocket, you're going to get nut cancer or ovarian cancer. That your Wi-Fi, your 802 Wi-Fi, is going to give you cancer. Look, man, here's the simple thing. This is just like my argument with PEDs, like testosterone replacement therapy, right? Or EPO or whatever, right? Anabolics. We haven't been doing it long enough to really know what the long-term effects are. I think that's the honest intellectual answer. There's been certain effects observed in certain situations or cases. There's evidence for certain things. But I don't know that you can intellectually, honestly say with certainty, any amount of certainty, that this is or is not true in any of those ways, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't looked into 5G specifically. Is it possible that it could have some harmful side effects? Sure. Yeah. I don't see why it would be impossible. How likely is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was just asked, and I'm like, I haven't done enough research. It's not, and to be honest, I'm not even sure it's something that I'm willing to spend that much time on.
Yeah, I don't, and that's the thing is, I don't know that I particularly care. I can't imagine it's at a microwave length. Otherwise, it would be microwave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which you ain't floating microwaves around willy-nilly. Well, because they also have side effects. I mean, in and of themselves, like technologically, they have side effects.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't even understand the difference between 4G and 5G at this point. Like,
well, part of it is, looking at it, I mean, it's just the range. Because it's at a different frequency, you can get it to go longer distances.
Sure. Well, so, right. And I look at that like the food problem. There's a popular myth, and it is a myth. There's tons of science around this, that there's a food shortage problem around the world. That's absolutely not true. There's a food distribution problem. There's plenty of food being manufactured. There's endless amounts of food. In fact, we waste more than we consume in some cases.
Sure.
But we just don't distribute it well, especially to underdeveloped countries.
Well, right. They don't have the infrastructure, and food there only lasts a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you freeze it, but still, what if you're taking it somewhere they don't have freezers?
Right.
And there's plenty of people in the world that don't have that technology.
Right. And it's the same thing as population. Another popular myth that we're in this massive population expanse and there's not enough room in the world. That's absolute horseshit. We're in a population collapse. It's the exact opposite. There's plenty of room. There's more than enough.
What do you mean we're in a population collapse? Because the world is still, overall, there's more people being born than there are dying.
The raw number of people is net increasing still. That's true. But when you look at what's going to happen because of the generational difference and the rate of birth, it's going to collapse. Like we're going to peak at what, like 8.5 billion, maybe 9 billion at the most. And then it's going to absolutely collapse like down to like 4 billion.
So you think it'll be cut in half?
Yeah, like fairly quickly.
Because our generation is the smallest generation since like the 1800s.
Yeah, well, and so here's part of the evidence for this. This isn't my conjecture, right? This is my reading of the science. The birth rates are slowing. There's still more people being born overall. That's how you're getting a net increase in population, right? But look at the problem that the East has, particularly Japan. There's way more old people than young people. That's a serious problem. Their population is already collapsing.
Right.
Because they're just not. They're Japan as a country is past the point. They're already past the tipping point of net product. They're in a net decline already, and there's two reasons for that: birth rates, and then what contributes to lower birth rates is prosperity. So as the world becomes more prosperous, which it indubitably is, the number one top effect as it pertains to population, as I read the science, is reduction in birth rate. So instead of having 2.5 kids, people are having 1 kid.
Yeah.
You're losing a kid and a half, man, per family. That's huge.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand what you mean.
Right. So, within the next decade, it ain't going to take an asteroid impact like the last time we got done at like 10,000 people.
Yeah, it's not going to need that.
Right. I mean, people forget that. It wasn't that long ago in geological history that the human species was reduced to 10 to 15,000 individuals. And we survived it because clearly we're here.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no. But anyway, my point is that it's a myth. So this is part of the problem I have, like, for instance, with our current political climate, is it's almost impossible to distinguish fact from bullshit because the waters are so muddy. So with the transition to 4G to 5G, I don't know what the benefits are. I don't know what the possible side effects are because I even if I sat down and look at it, which, like you, I don't know that I'll take the time to because I just don't care. I don't know how to determine fact from bullshit, and here's why. I mean, wasn't it just last week or the week before that? I think it was AT&T that was caught putting 5G on the phone when it actually wasn't 5G, just to trick people into saying they had 5G.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah, something like that.
Because of shit like that. So what? Like, but that's my question. Like, not technologically, but maybe technologically. What is actually 5G, and why do we need it? Like, because I don't think we have a throughput problem with 4G or 3G. We have a distribution problem. And so these
right, that's probably the reason for 5G is that, well, I'm no longer able to put up more towers, but if I can get my towers to be able to produce a longer range, then I don't need to replace the towers. I just need to put the different technology on each of the towers because that'll be cheaper.
Sure.
Right.
Well, right, and that's the question I would ask is, why can't you put up more towers? Is it just cost? Which I'm not saying they should be forced to. I understand it. But what is the limitation with what we have now that 5G is supposed to address?
My suspicion is it's not anything really to do with cost, but zoning, government regulation.
Right.
And this is the part where when people start talking about these conspiracy theories of this, the 5G is harmful or 4G is harmful. Well, all of our elected officials have to use it, right? I mean, it's the same thing. They're still using these cell phones, and if it's only 5G, I mean, the people they're putting in place to kind of protect them are probably not going to approve it if it's that harmful because they're going to have to use it. And I don't believe someone like Dianne Feinstein is going to do something like that if it's harmful for her because she only does whatever she wants to do.
Right.
But not a fan of Ms. Feinstein. I can't say I'm a fan of many politicians, really. Anyway, but that's just the part where I look at is they're all using the same thing we are. And if it was going to be harmful, they wouldn't be using it. But they're all still using Samsung, Apple. Well, clearly many people in Congress, they're using Apple and they think it's an Android device. They don't really know the difference. I'll give you all a hint. Apple actually has a symbol of an apple on it. And if it's an Apple symbol, those members in Congress that may listen in the future, that Apple symbol means it's made by a company called Apple. If it doesn't have an Apple symbol, it's not made by Apple.
That's right. It's something else.
I wonder if we could get them to remember when it was when W. Bush got elected, the hanging chads, and they gave certain people a test, and it was like with Mickey Mouse, Walt Disney characters.
Yeah,
yeah. They gave something like that to Congress if they could still pass.
Oh man, dude.
You know, I don't really like the Senator Harris as a person, but I'll tell you what, she's sharp.
Yeah, yes, she is. I would totally 100% agree with what you just said.
That's someone, even though I don't agree with a lot of her positions, there's no way you get to be the district attorney in the state of California without knowing your stuff.
Yeah, that's true, man. I mean, it's a diverse state, and it's rather progressive. It's rather advanced, even though it has some very strong conservative areas to it. Yeah,
But what's funny is that the state of California has like 105% voter rate.
Yeah.
So there was a joke going around that when I die, I hope my family doesn't allow me to vote Democrat. Because you can't have 105% voter turnout.
Well, you can. You shouldn't be able to.
You shouldn't be able to.
I don't know, man. I'm thinking more about the harmful effects of radio waves. Like, how long term would you have to study that to see if there are harmful effects? Because like microwaves, it's like it's radiation, right? I don't know how long. I don't. Let me say this differently. I would suspect, and I don't know because this ain't my field, and I've never looked into it personally. But I would guess, this is a guess, that you wouldn't have to be exposed to microwave radiation for very long before you started having problems.
If it was true microwave radiation, right? Absolutely. Right. That's the whole reason why microwaves are contained.
That's right.
That's why the problem if there's a leak in that microwave.
Right.
Right. But multi-generational. I mean, it's a problem you get to study for, if I had to guess, 40 plus years.
I don't know, man. Maybe the solution long term is more exposure and interest in biohacking. Because if I'm susceptible to this kind of radiation, let's be honest, it ain't going away. It's only going to increase, whether it's 5G, 6G, or some new technology. And we're clearly benefiting from it as a species, so I'm a fan of it. So why isn't the answer just to make myself more resilient?
It's what I do now.
Right. Speaking of which, man, speaking of more resilient, oh my God, dude, check this out. I know I told you about this offline, but I don't know if I talked about it on the show. One of the goals I set, maybe we'll segue here, is Mrs. Pittman has been doing these fitness bets last year where you pay into
how many of those bets did she beat you in? I forgot. How many was that?
Well, no, I never did that, man.
It was just a race you all did.
Yeah, that was the 5K she beat me at handedly. I mean, let's not mince words here. It wasn't close, right? She gives off the perception that she's going to be friendly and we're in this together and we're going to run hand in hand like through clouds of flowers, fields, and shit. Dude, she got ruthless. And I respect the hustle. Anyway, man, in addition to that, for the last year and a half or so, she's been doing these fitness bets. I don't know what it's called because I didn't pay attention. Where essentially what happens is it's a pool of people via the internet, and you pay, let's say, $25 into a pool, and you can choose the length of the bet. Let's say 6 months is the one we're doing now. And on certain intervals, let's say once a month for that 6 months, you have to weigh in. And you have to demonstrate a net percentage-based reduction month after month. Now, what's nice about this that I like is they cap it. So let's say your first goal is 3% of your body weight lost. If you lose too much, they kick you out because either you're being very unhealthy or you're cheating.
Right.
Dude, it's legitimate, man. You have to take photos like with keywords. It's pretty robust the way they handle it. I was pretty impressed. So nonetheless, she's been doing these bets and she won every single one except for the last one. And because of the size of the pool she was dealing with, she was winning a couple $100 off of 25. It's $25 buy-in. Every couple months, she would win a couple $100. Perfect, man. Disney fun money. So we get into this bet, and the timing was right because it's the new year, and you know how this works psychologically, right? Everybody signs up for fitness bets. Everybody signs up for gyms, so forth and so on. This fucking pool is at almost $2 million. The one she did before, it was like 100K. Okay, so this is several orders of magnitude larger. So if you can win, your payout should be several orders of magnitude larger. I can't believe it. Every day I check, man, this thing keeps going up. It's at almost, when we started, it was, I think, at 150K. And we started 3 weeks ago. It's up to almost 2 mil now, man. And I'm watching closely. I bet that a month from now, there's probably going to be about a 25% reduction in the amount of people, which means then all that money gets released to the other people that are still in the pool, right? It adds on to your winnings that you can get. Anyway, man, we're having good success so far. But my point is, it's a good use of like social media, because it really is a social media platform.
Yeah, and it's only people that are members are involved anyway. You know, I don't see anything wrong with any of that. I think it's actually, you know, healthy. You know, motivate for me.
And right, and she participates in the actual social community part of it. I don't care to talk to people. I don't need a trainer. I don't need motivation. I'm fine.
Yeah,
I just want my money.
You know, and I get into, you know, for me, I just want to be healthier, right? And as part of that, I just got to get in better physical shape, and so I just keep doing things. And there's a big difference. Like I have a trainer right now for the gym, and I won't move forward after my full year is up with him. Mainly for that was I didn't know how to work out after 40. There's a big difference. I got to work in the morning, right? I got to go to work later that day. So when I was in my 20s, you know, the recuperation, no big deal. But I'm not looking to. I gotta move around. I gotta walk. And if I'm all, you know, jacked up, I'm like, oh, no, thank you. No, I'm not looking to. I want to feel like I tell people about spicy food. You just want it a little bit spicy for you because you get a lot of benefits. If it's too spicy, you get zero benefits. Actually, a negative benefit if it was too spicy for you. Same thing with working out. I just want to feel it a little bit, because if I'm so sore and I can't go back to the gym the next day or for 3 days, then did I really do anything? I don't think so. I think I did a negative harm. So I want to get it to the point where I'm a little bit sore and I can come in tomorrow and I can still work out. So I do that. You know, this is the other part that's funny when we were talking about the different rays. There's a big thing with like infrared saunas. Well, what frequency is that coming out at? I do it every day, almost.
You know, man, we've talked about it. We have a debate right now. We're pretty sure we're going to put an expansion onto the house, and we're debating on where to put it, like where we're going to build an addition onto the home, because we want more room. And as part of that, we've been debating: are we putting in an infrared sauna or are we putting in a hot tub?
Yes.
Yeah, right. That was my answer. Was, well, yeah, both. I mean, makes sense to me.
Yeah,
because all of us now in our peer group are over 40, and your ability to recover is so much slower, man. And this is why fundamentally I made the transition starting several years ago from high weight, low rep powerlifting, Olympic lifting with a lot of physical bulk on myself to very low power, high volume endurance bike racing. And it's so much better for my body, man. I don't hurt. I don't creak. All I got to do is not crash. That's all I got to do.
Which is a problem.
Yeah, it can be.
Because there's more than just you involved. But so the infrared sauna, one overall, you can buy them, which I bought mine, essentially, which is not big. It's not huge. It's enough for, you know, 2 regular sized people could be in. The benefits are different from that than, say, a hot tub, right?
Yeah.
The benefits of that infrared sauna, because you only get the benefit while the rays are going. Like if you just want to sweat, then it's a different thing. Like you can do that, but really you get into the infrared sauna. I set mine to 135 degrees, and it takes about 15 minutes to get a little bit warmed up, but it would take for that thing to get to that 135 degrees about 40 minutes. Well, I'm not in there. I'm only in there for 30 minutes. Now, if I want to sweat, I could still set it to 135, but then I wouldn't get in until a half hour.
Right.
So it's already up over 120 at that point. And then the rays will shut off and it'll do temperature control. But I want to be in there while the rays are going up. Now I still sweat a little bit, but really the idea is that you're helping the body to detox.
Right.
The hot tub is more about getting everything back limber. It's a relaxation, you know, things you can do. So, you know, if it were me, I would do both. And I still debate whether or not to get a hot tub as well. The issue with the hot tub is I can't just plug it in and it'd be ready to go.
Yeah, right.
You know, it requires a proper sturdiness, a different amp. You need an electrician. So at least for me, I need an electrician because I'm not dealing with that kind of electricity.
Yeah, I don't either, man, because that's the shit that'll kill you. I don't touch it.
Yeah. So for me, the sauna at a 2-person sauna, it plugged into a regular electrical socket. Bam, done. And that's why I went with the sauna at first. And I only spent like $900 on this thing. It's got amazing ratings. And I would say it's probably the reason why in the past couple of years here, even I've when I start to feel sick, I just do it more.
Right. And I'll tell you, man, something I started to probably maybe a week or two after Thanksgiving, I started this, is particularly with cycling, man. I always have problems with my hamstrings getting tight. And that's just a part of cycling, right?
Yeah.
And so stretching can be problematic. Let's say the way we were taught, like in high school, you know what I mean, to stretch. So what I got into is I use a product called ROM, R-O-M, range of motion, WOD, workout of the day. And they have these little, they range between 12 and 30 some minutes, okay? And essentially what it is it's yin yoga. So, man, dude, this has more than anything dramatically increased the way I feel in a positive way.
Oh,
so
so
the idea is you've done a lot of yoga. The idea with this style is rather than holding a pose for, let's say, 10, 20, 30 seconds, then moving through a sequence and a flow, this you hold the poses for 2 to 4 minutes each. And so you really get a deep, deep, deep tissue stretch. And man, it has made all the difference for me. Especially,
I can imagine, sure.
Especially in my legs.
People, you know, when I was doing a lot of martial arts, there was a reason why you're in a horse stance for so long.
Right.
Saying it's hard. 2 minutes is a long time.
Dude, it's a long time. It's a long time, man. Especially if you have tight, like, some of the poses are hard, man. I mean, it's hard. It's uncomfortable. You might say it's almost painful. And so that's also the thing I like about well, the thing I like about this too, man, is because it goes for 2 to 4 minutes. It's also very meditative because you have to learn to embrace, like you just said, the discomfort and put yourself in a mental place where this is just the way this is right now.
Well, that's important because you also have to look into the sort of those people that like to show off. You get right into that deep stretch right away. You're not lasting it.
No,
you're not.
No, man. And you learn that with these 2 to 4 minute stretches of there's no need to force it. If you just breathe properly and relax your body.
After every breath, your body will start to relax more and you'll get into the position.
Yeah. And you'll just sink right into it. It does. It feels like sinking, man. You know that.
Yeah. And that's the right way to do it.
Oh man, it's glorious, dude. So I do that not every morning, but most mornings. And I've started doing it before I cycle and later in the day after.
One of the things that I also do to try to help out is like I'll use a type of rolling pin, so to speak, on my muscle.
Yeah.
For the hard styrofoam for the back because it just helps to get out all of the what do they call it, the gastric acid.
And it breaks up the fascia.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I'll do that, or what's called flossing. You'll wrap a rubber band, and then you'll really get into the with a roller ball. I do a lot of those things to help recover more.
So I signed. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying to do a lot of those things to recover more quickly.
Yeah, well, it definitely helps. I was going to say goal wise, I signed up for 3 races. The shortest one is 60 miles. The longest one is 200 kilometers, which is like 120 miles.
Okay, yeah, look, we're here in the U.S., and just like the rest of the United States, we use our type of metric system, in terms of measurements, not that communist stuff they do in Europe and Canada.
Hey, man, I'm only
IPv4 in the United States. The rest of the world can stick with IPv6. We invented it. It stays here. We do what we want. Let everyone else adapt.
Well, to call back to something we were talking about earlier, to that point when I was troubleshooting this little network issue that popped up with Manjaro,
Yeah.
I'm like, why is all this stuff running in IPv6? And I ripped it all out. Get this out of here. Dude. Get this out of here. It is. It's incomprehensible.
I don't live in the communist world, rest of the world.
Right.
So
IPv4, just get out. Anyway, man. Now, the cool thing with these races, because these are gravel races.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me about that.
And these are endurance races, man. The great thing is it looks like I'm going to be able to combine camping trips with almost all of them.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So we got a little camper coming that's going to hook onto the back of the Jeep, man.
Oh, did you get one of those ones I was telling you about?
No, actually, funny enough, man, her parents have one, and they don't want to use it anymore. So I'm like, dude, I'll take it.
Yeah. I can't wait for it to get a little bit warmer here again, because on my trips to go to Ann Arbor, I'm just riding a motorcycle every time. I mean, it's a good. I'll probably will take the 2.5 hours when I do that, because normally that 2.5 hour trip is about 2 hours.
Right.
For me, I won't go that fast on a motorcycle in the middle of, basically when there's people on the road. I'm not trying to die.
Right.
I like to have some adventure, but no, I'm not trying to die. But I can't wait, just because being on a bike for that long, it takes a lot out of you. It's a workout. People don't understand how much of a, all they see is a stereotype, some big guy on a bike, and it takes a lot of control of your muscles to keep that bike moving, balanced, and the vibration.
Sure.
It's tough. Can't wait.
And I would have to guess, as similar as cycling is to motorcycling, that you also get mentally exhausted too from having to constantly scan and pay attention and process.
Absolutely. That's why, I've got a 360 view helmet that I'm looking to, I had one. I got to get another one, because the one that I had was one of the first Scully AR ones. I was one of the lucky people that actually got it. They've got, so Shui, I think that's how you pronounce their name, is the first major brand to come up with one. And I'm like, ooh, so I'll pay for that, because it's got a heads up display, the camera in the back, when people are coming close to you. I want to know. I'm not, that's the most dangerous part. People starting to get into your lane, because it's no different than any of the modern technology for cars. You want to know if someone's getting close, and on a motorcycle, there ain't four wheels to keep you balanced.
It's interesting, man. I wonder what the overlap is. I use Garmin for cycling, so like my power meters, I have pedals that have accelerometers and sensors in them that measure how much power I'm putting into the bike, my speed, my cadence, how my RPMs and all that jazz. And the computer that reads all that is a Garmin computer. Garmin has a system they call, I don't remember the name of it, I think it's called Viber, because you can also control your lights that way.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But they have a heads-up display now. And I've been thinking about getting it, because one of the, especially...
That's an add-on, Viber.
Yeah.
Because they make the motorcycle helmets, too.
Right. And I wonder how similar like the heads-up display is between the cycling product and the motorcycle implementation of it.
I don't know.
I might get it, and then we can compare it. Because I'm interested in it just because one of the things I don't like doing periodically is looking down. I don't like it.
No,
but I got to look down.
Off the road. It's better to have it in there and focus on that part because your brain is still looking at what's going ahead. If you look down, the rest of your balance goes away.
Because naturally your body follows your head. So when you look down,
well, that's right. That's why it's very difficult on a motorcycle, bicycle, whatever. If you turn your head to the right, you can't go straight, even when you're driving a car, because everything's going to go. That's why you're supposed to glance at the mirrors.
Right. Well, and especially people have a hard time learning when you go through turns how to turn your head. That's why I've said this before in the show, I think. The number one thing I got out of track cycling and a velodrome was target lock and how to turn your head into those turns. Because if you don't, you ain't coming around that bend.
No, you're not. It's the same thing on a motorcycle. You will not. If you do not turn your head, that bike is not going to roll over a little bit and follow the curve. You're going to go straight. You're not gonna enjoy the outcome if you're trying to take an exit.
That's right. Well, and that's one of the reasons why I selected these gravel races. Is it's a different community than road racing. Road racing is super competitive. It's very aggressive, let's say, right? Because it's all about position in the group. And so it has problems, crashes because of that. I'm not saying people aren't competitive in gravel racing. They are. But it's not, you're not in a peloton like you are, because the aerodynamics aren't the problem. The problem is the gravel. So the way I've had it explained to me is, if you take road racing, and let's say that's X difficulty, when you add in hills or mountains, it doubles the difficulty, which it does, because going up a hill is fucking hard on a bike. It's hard.
Yeah. It's your own energy is what's doing it. It's not like going down a hill.
Right. You're fighting gravity, which, I mean, we know how gravity works. When you add in gravel, it doubles the difficulty again. And so, like, the first race I'm looking at is 100 miles with 10,000 feet of climbing. Dude, that's fucking a lot. That's a lot.
That is a lot.
It's no joke. And I looked at because the nice thing about this is, when you look at these races, the routes are all pre-planned. So you can look at it. I can look at it in my cycling software, and I can look at where the peaks are and the elevation changes. And it's like all in one place. So it's like a 10,000 foot climb. Not literally, there's several of them, but dude, it ain't no joke. This is how much climbing there is. There's another option, which is what Mrs. Pittman wants me to do, but I ain't a pussy, so I ain't doing it. There's always multiple options in terms of your length. So you can go according to age category, or open, which means everybody races everybody. And then you can do like 50 miles or 100 miles. Well, dude, if I'm signing up for a race, it's the same cost. Why wouldn't I push myself to do 100 instead of 50? The 50-mile race is still 5,000 feet of climbing. So
just do it.
Yeah, just get on there and go. So what? I mean, the last time I did it, I didn't finish because I got lost. So what? I still had a great time, dude. And that was horrible. That was miserable. There was so much climbing, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
So this factors back into the health, though. You know, the best way to get better at climbing is to lose weight, because the less weight you got to carry, the easier it is.
Absolutely true. Yeah. So so one of the other things, I don't know if I told you this or not, but I'm not going to go back to another DEF CON until after I graduate from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
That's summer of 2020, which is all the more reason why I want to get my endurance up on the motorcycle. I'm going to ship my bike out to California, and I'm riding across the desert for DEF CON.
I'll meet you in Vegas.
So that'll be the next time I actually, and the only reason I'm doing that is purely because I want to go in the hottest part of the year in the most extreme condition and do it.
As long as you keep moving, it ain't going to be that bad. Yeah, I mean, as long as you don't get stuck in traffic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how much traffic there's going to be on that road in the middle of the desert. I don't know. I've never done it.
The last time I drove the DEF CON,
yeah,
I got stuck. I was stuck longer than the entire drive should have taken.
Why were you stuck? An accident?
An accident.
See, that's the beautiful part about being on a bike. I can go around. I can keep moving. You can't do that on a car.
No,
that will be a problem, right? I'll have to. So I'm already preparing for what my equipment needs to be. Additional. So I've got the hard shell saddlebag, so to speak, that have to electronically lock. So like you're going to have to like really break into it, not like a leather bag where you can take a knife and just go. What kind of gas containers I can put in there?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I start to run out of gas in the middle of the desert, I have no idea. I've never done it, so I don't know how often there are gas stations along that road.
Once you get into the desert, there ain't.
Right. So I got to make sure I have enough. Now I can go about, it's only like a 6-gallon tank. So, well, let's just say, to be conservative, 180 miles on a tank of gas. I don't even know what the distance is.
You should be able to make it. I mean, if nothing goes wrong.
Right. So for me, I better make enough to where, just like with an airplane guesstimation of fuel, I want to make sure I've got 12 gallons of gas on me to be able to go double.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm also going to be plugging in different accessories, but there's things that I'll be having plugged in that'll help to keep me cool.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this:
I'm be fully geared because I'm not about to deal with the sun either.
Right. I'll say this, man. I know people that have done that drive like regularly, And I don't particularly enjoy it, but I don't particularly enjoy driving in and of itself. But man, it's worth doing at least once, and it's absolutely doable. I mean, there's no like, dude, you should not cycle through here. You know what I mean? Do it, man.
Do it. Eventually, as I want to do, but one of my life goals is I want to go from Ocean City, Maryland, to Sacramento, California, Route 50, end to end.
Yeah.
I've been to both sides, but I've never been all the way in the middle. So I just want to do it.
Yeah.
That'll just be one of those things where, I mean, that'll probably take me 2 weeks.
Right. Well, but this goes back to aims and goals, man. It's like so these gravel races are preparation and prototypes and tests for that big race I eventually want to do. Probably I'm not doing it this year, and I probably won't do it next year. It might be 2021 before I try it, which is from Canada to Mexico across the Continental Divide. Yeah. That's hard, dude. That's hard.
Well, that's another thing. It's like I want to go. Maybe I'll do that too. Who knows? But yeah. I have zero intention of doing. I know a couple people have done it, which have gone from Alaska to Key West.
Yeah, that's hard on the diagonal. I don't have
any intention of doing that. No desire to do that. That would take like a month easily.
Yeah.
I mean, only because there's only so much you can go on a motorcycle. On a car, you could do it much quicker. Mm-hmm. But no, thank you. No, I don't even want to do it in a car.
Right. No, dude, I haven't driven horizontally more or less across the country like 4 or 5 times now. I'm not. Yeah. That said, man, there's also a race across America that goes like from let's say San Francisco or Washington State to I think it goes to National Harbor.
Oh, see, I wouldn't mind doing like a Smokey and the Bandit type thing,
like a Cannonball Run or a Gumball.
Yeah, Cannonball Run. Yeah, Cannonball Run. Yeah, I would do that.
If I still had a high-end sports car, I would. I got to be honest though, man. More and more, I just talked about this to Mrs. Pittman yesterday. I'm like, man, at some point, do we talk about getting another kind of truck? Jeep makes a nice. It's basically the 4-door Wrangler that I have, except instead of the back 2 doors, it has a flatbed like a pickup truck. I don't remember what they call it.
Okay, like one of the Subaru Bajas.
Kinda.
All right.
I think way back in the day, Jeep manufactured one of these, and it might have been for the military. But anyway, I don't know, man. I'll say this, because at this point, why do I want a car payment? Because I don't have one.
Well, until you need to have one, right?
Right. Exactly. And that was kind of the conclusion we left it at. Like, well, I mean, why?
I'm with you. I get to that point to where if I can start buying more things just straight up cash and not have to deal with it, and it's not so much like, I know we're running out of time here, but it's not so much that I care about the loss of value in the vehicle when you're taking it off the lot. If I'm buying a car and it's 5 years, I'm really looking at I take a look at those interest payment and I go, I bought a car for $30,000 cash, or do I want to buy a car and pay for that same $30,000 car $40,000?
That's right. Exactly. Pretty much anymore, man. For the last couple of years, the only things I'll finance is if I can get 0% or same as cash. Like even if it's only 90 or 120 days.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why am I giving you somebody else free money? I mean, if I wanted to give free money out, I'd give free money out to people that actually could probably use it.
Like me.
Yeah.
But that's some of the things. Hopefully everyone's out there enjoying some of the articles we're putting out. We're trying to make a little, bigger effort in what we're doing. Things to automate your life.
Right.
Some stuff out there on investing. There'll be some more things like that hopefully help everyone out. But I'm certainly
It's a good way maybe to wrap this up. One thing I was going to mention is, I got this Pixel 3 XL now as a phone, and I've started looking at the workflows you can build using the assistant. And I think coming up in this week, I'm going to take like half a day and do nothing but sit down and explore all the automation and power that this phone can leverage. And then I'll report back on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Because it's like we've talked about before with technology. I mean, even like, here's an idea, right? I have an alarm that goes off, let's say. And as a consequence of that alarm going off, the Google Assistant can trigger some of my home automation. And as some of that home automation, it can send a wake on LAN signal to my computer in my office, in addition to my lights. So the time that I spend coming out here, I can't get rid of because I physically have to come out here. But what I can save is physically turning on lights, physically turning on computers, waiting on them to turn on, even though it's very fast. And that adds up over a week, over a month, over a year, over years, right? And if you can use technology to take that away, not only do I think it's massively cool as a nerd, because it is, but look at that productivity enhancement.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Cool.
All right, my friend. I got to get out of here.
All right, man. Enjoy your Sunday.
Absolutely. To everyone else, peace.
See you guys maybe Thursday. We'll talk to Ken and see if he's available.
I am at Michigan, so I'm not.
Oh, that's right. Are you available next Sunday then?
Yeah.
All right. We'll plan on next Sunday then.
Awesome.
All right. Cheers, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.